morning. It's another Sunday School at Home, and it's a beautiful Sunday. Today I have a book for you that's taken from a story that Jesus told his disciples when he was trying to teach them something. He was trying to teach them something about prayer. So, this is about a man that was traveling in the Middle East, Palestine, many years ago in Jesus' time, and of course they didn't have cars. He was in a caravan, which means there was a lot of people on camels, and they were all traveling together. Now they a lot of times traveled. They didn't start traveling until later in the day because they wanted to travel when the sun was down, so it wasn't so hot. So this man tried to get his belly full with food before he went on this journey while they were having a stop, but he had a lot of mishaps, and he ends up being in a predicament. So the name of this book is called Samir's Midnight Friend. Samir slid with his bulky pack from the woolly camel's humpy back. He stirred the beans in his cooking pot. "I'm starved," he cried. "I hope they're hot." But the camel poked her nose right in and gobbled up the beans with a fiendish grin. Wow. That wasn't the camel's food. Samir cried, then stopped to blink, and then he milked the camel to get a drink. So I guess I didn't realize that you could milk a camel, but he did. Let's see if he can get some food this way. But the clumsy camel kicked his hand, and the milk was swallowed up by the desert sand. You know, I don't think that was an accident. I think that was a cranky camel. So there was nothing he could do. It was time to go, for the fiery sun in the sky hung low, so the caravan jolted along its way, and Samir went hungry the rest of the day. So he had to travel the rest of the journey with an empty stomach. The moon peeked out from behind the hill, and Samir's tummy was empty still. "I'm glad," he thought. "I have a friend who will feed me tonight at the journey's end." But he came to the city much too late, and the way was blocked by a locked main gate. So the camels were freed of their load to squeeze through a needle's eye gate on bended knees. I'm going to show you that picture because what happened is when everything was closed and the gates were closed and there were walls all around the cities to protect the people at night, if you came there really late, you would have to go through a needle's eye, which was just a big enough opening for a camel to get through if he got down on his knees. And then, of course, the man could fit through. So the gate was locked, and they had to go through the needle's eye. And he's still hungry. When Samir at last saw his friend, he cried, "I feel like a hollow horn inside. I've nothing left, though," friend Benjamin said. "I know, we'll go to the neighbor and borrow some bread." The one-room house was dark next door, and the man inside had begun to snore. So the whole family was asleep already. Samir started to wail and weep. "What can we do? He's sound asleep. He'll never get up to give us bread in the middle of night." But Benjamin said, "I know he'll give us a helping hand, for that is the custom throughout the land. The man would be thought to be terribly rude if he turned us away without any food." So the custom in the land was that if anybody came to your door hungry at any time, you would help them out, and if you had any, you would give them some food. But this man and his whole family are asleep, so we'll see what happens. Samir's voice grew scared and terse. If he has to answer, that's even worse. He'll really be angry. He'll fume and roar. He'll pound us to powder and slam the door. But Benjamin knocked with all of his might. His deep voice shattered the quiet of night. I've come to borrow a bit of bread for a hungry friend from afar, he said. So I wonder what's going to happen. They heard the neighbor's sleepy groan, and they knew that he wanted to be left alone. But then came the sounds of a muffled din and the shuffle of scuffling feet within. Sounds like he's coming to the door. Listen, said Samir, in dread and fear. He's feeling around, maybe in the dark, for a spear or a hefty hammer that weighs a ton. I'm way too hungry and weak to run. So he's thinking that this guy is angry and he's going to maybe come to the door with a weapon. But remember about the custom? Then the sound of stealthy steps was gone, and the iron bolt on the door was drawn. The scraping sounded throughout the house like a squeaky squeak of a giant mouse. He opened the door. That's a big man, huh? Hope he's not mad. The children woke and wondered why, and even the baby began to cry. They were sound asleep already. Then a burly man with weathered skin stepped from the shadowy room within. Samir's hands grew clammy and hot. Was the man a friend, or was he not? What is he going to do? He sticks out his hand and without a warning said, my wife baked this bread just this morning. Whew. So he followed the tradition. You see, there's just enough left, he said, for a meal for one. 3 loaves of bread. Whew. Sighed Samir, his face aglow. And Benjamin said, I told you so. So, in the end, even though the man woke up in the middle of the night with somebody pounding on his door, he was probably kind of grouchy, but he still was a good friend, and he gave them the bread. So what Jesus was trying to teach his disciples when he told this story was that we need to never give up when we're praying. We need to be very persistent. And just like this man's friend was persistent in going to his neighbor and getting him some bread. So we know that God wants to answer our prayers. So we need to remember to be persistent and not give up and keep praying. So that's the lesson that we're to learn from this story. So have a great Sunday. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week.